Yo, what's up guys? I wanted to do a quick review of these two phones. So on the right, I have the 13 Pro Max and I have the 14 Pro Max. And honestly, so what you're getting here is you're getting the power of the iPhone 14 with better cameras. So I would say go for the 13 Pro for the same price as the 14. You're getting the 14 Pro Max over here. What is the difference? Basically just this fucking dynamic island thing. Okay, right? So you can get little dumb pets and shit over here. The phones, basically, I'm gonna be honest, they probably open apps at the fucking same time. So watch, ready? Here, we'll just test an overall fluidity thing. So App Store. I don't know if I'm gonna hit these right, but let's see here. Well, they both can edit things. Let's see if my visual spatial skills are okay. Okay, we got the, it opened on the left here, a little quicker. Okay, but basically, so what you have here is you have downclocking. So it's Apple basically just does progressive downclocking. Sorry, well, it's my wife, whatever, she has her phone, but they progressively downclock the device to save battery. So that's what that is. So honestly, there are a lot of videos that are going to compare games and things like that, but the reality is you're getting the same phone. It's not that much different. Honestly, I think my wife gets better battery on the 13 Pro Max, and that's kind of a disappointment. Um, I would say that this phone, I mean, just an example, this phone is opening up an application. It's snappy. It's quick. There's really no issues. They're both great phones. I would say that, the iPhone is a little bit cheaper. It's still expensive, but this was 256, 14 Pro Max at 1200. It's still a lot of money. Like, I'm not saying that 1200 is cheap, but that's how Apple is. They're always pricey. Tim Cook was literally asked like, "Oh, what do you think about the prices?" Like, he's just like, "Well, people will pay for what they want, for like the quality they see," and he is right about that. But at the same time, like, I mean, isn't an excuse to basically just not, um, is it an excuse to not have reasonable prices for the hardware? I don't think the boring experience that they're offering is worth it. Um, to be honest. But yeah, honestly, just here's a quick side by side comparison. Basically, literally the same thing. This phone is, I would not upgrade from the 13 Pro if I were you. From basic use, like the A15 processor and the A16 are the same thing. It's still 6 gigabytes of RAM. I don't think they have any new RAM technology. I think what they do is they basically just rename what they're putting out. They literally just put a catchy name on top of excuse me, the same thing and call it a day. And I think that's pretty much just Apple's strategy, is they just make it look like they're doing something new and they're not. And it's I don't hate these phones, but I don't like the experience. But then again, it is nice to have these because sometimes I do want the fluid iPhone experience. I do. So honestly, though, one thing that the iPhone will have that beats Android every single day is AirDrop. I just dropped a 26-minute video within like a minute or two to my phone. Like, I didn't have to go and download it, upload it to Google Drive, and then download it again. I'm sure there are applications for that, but the native transition between here, and then a MacBook, right? Like, or just to different, that is something that iOS will always be good at. And it's really just because they don't let other things into their ecosystem. Like, think about it. Samsung is building an ecosystem based around Android, which is an open source platform. Of course, they're making their software unique and individual, like just how this is based off Linux. Everything here is based off Linux. Like, it's really, or Unix, I guess that's what it's based off. But so they're doing the same thing with their own software, but it took a while, and but that's still Android. Like, iOS is exclusive to these devices, so the optimization on the devices is going to be a good thing. So in terms of that, like, that's a good thing. You know what I mean? If you do want to see me play like a few seconds of a game, I do have a video coming out about that. But I would say that realistically, these devices are the same. So camera on this one, we'll just take a picture real quick, right? So boom, right here, you got the little MacBook, boom. And honestly, my device is not really going to show it, but the amount of pixels that I'm getting per shot is pretty good, right? So I don't know what. Okay, right. So I've got the 13 Pro. We'll go like up here. I've got my like music setup thing, right? So, but here we'll do the same photo. And I'm not doing the raw photo capabilities, so these aren't bad cameras. The camera I have is bad right now, so it's not really doing a good job of. But even just photos out of focus here. Let's get an in focus photo real quick. Also, it's not gonna lie, it's pretty hard to film with an iPad, if I'm being completely honest. But honestly, okay, so the camera's high quality. You know what I mean? And I think I honestly got a better shot. This is probably just due to my shot, but look at this. You know, you get a lot of, and I don't know if the 48 shooter is a one-time zoom. So there's that. But to be honest, I'm not focusing on specs because, to be honest, nobody's really focused on specs when they're getting an iPhone. They don't care. This is like the biggest thing that I've seen emphasized, is that they want a phone that works. But here, okay, so let's just look at the backs real quick. So different cases and things like that, but you know, you have, let's look at like the physical appearance of the cameras. If we can with this camera quality. Sorry guys. This is like all I have right now. This is iPad camera. Let's see if, oh, lol, sick. Okay, the sensors look bigger over here and they pop out a little more versus over here. But really that's it. Apparently the newer iPhone, being the 15 that's going to come out, is supposed to have like another stacked thing on here. So I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to make this bigger? Like this case thing bigger? I don't know. But honestly, yeah. So, you know, you got upgraded cameras, upgraded processor, same RAM. They might tell you they have different RAM technology. Like that, you know, the app's open a little quicker. And I just think it's also because of the progressive downclocking. To be honest, at the end of the day, based on tests I've seen, there's not really that much of a difference. iOS is doing a better job of basically just, you know, this dynamic island thing is pretty sick. So, for instance, if you plug in like a charger, it's going to be a little charger thing that pops out, right? Or if you can get a little pet that just boops around up top, you can like feed it. It's kind of fun. It's creative. And I think that they did a good job software wise with that. And of course they didn't have this on the 13 Pro Max. So you are not getting that dynamic island. Whether you see it as like a, I don't want to call something a gimmick because they did a good job with it. They made it look seamless. They changed the shape of it. Like when you unlock it, it turns to a square. You're not going to get that on here, but of course that's to be expected. But if you're looking for the basic iPhone experience, the A15 still does it. I would not go for the iPhone 14. I would go for the 13 Pro Max, or excuse me, wouldn't go for the 14 Max or whatever. I would go for the 13 Pro Max because you are still getting a better camera, because basically, honestly, the lower end phone is just the phone from last year, them reselling it, and that's something that I don't like that Apple does. They basically just get you to buy a phone twice if you go from a pro phone to a non-pro phone. I don't think people are going to do that anyway. They care about getting a pro phone. But the reality is a lot of people also don't want to spend money on a phone. So if you're not looking to spend a ton of money, you're looking for quality, like, dude, the iPhone's pretty good, especially if you're just looking for basic features like texting and things like that. Like if you're straight up looking for text messages, you want to send videos quickly over AirDrop. That's probably the biggest thing about this. The fact that I can just AirDrop a lot of data very quickly. Like that is between these two devices. Like that's something that Apple will be king of because of the fact that they just are locked to their ecosystem. So there's not really any room for error. But yeah, you got Face ID. They unlock the same. It's really the same shit. You're just going to get a downclocked experience because most likely the battery tech is a little bit worse. I don't know how batteries work in terms of if you don't use them and they're just sitting in there. I don't know I do know they erode and degrade over time. I don't know if a year has made a difference, but you might want to consider that in terms of battery tech. But my wife's 13 Pro Max lasts all day. So if you want battery, I would say go with the 13 Pro Max. But to be honest, guys, that's really it. there might be more in-depth comparisons and things like that, but to be honest, at the end of the day, iOS and iPhones, they do a good job of getting a lot out of a little. And it's really impressive that both these have 6 gigs of RAM, but they can actually function very well. Like that's something that Apple does a good job too, is that iOS is very light and they get a lot out of a little. I guess they're moving to 8 gigs of RAM with this next one, and they're also getting USB-C because I think in some, you know what I think they're gonna do? They're gonna have a USB-C version of the phone, and they're gonna have a like an international USB-C version of the phone with SIM cards that are removable. And I think in the US they're gonna have the Lightning with no removable SIM card, the eSIM. So, or I think they're just gonna do that because they want people buying their chargers instead of just using an Android phone charger or buying from another company. I just think Apple's too greedy. That's another thing too. The company greed is a little bit ridiculous, and I think that to be honest, the quality of this company has just taken a huge decline since Steve Jobs passed in 2011. The best phone that they put out, to be honest, was the iPhone 4. That was a revolutionary device. That was the coolest looking phone I've ever seen. The glass on both sides with the metal in between. Dude, that was a next level device. Like that set a new standard. And I, even being a heavy Android fanboy, will admit the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 1, the iPhone 2G, like those phones set a standard. Those phones changed the market. And now what I would say is I've gotten, dude, and don't say I had a 13 Pro Max. I traded in for Pixel 7 Pro. I just sold my Pixel 7 Pro to my friend for pretty cheap because he needed a phone. Right, so I ended up doing that. So I had a 13 Pro Max. I didn't have a 12 Pro Max. I had an 11 Pro. I had an iPhone 10. What else did I have? I think I had an iPhone. There were points where I was getting the iPhone SE instead of the main one just because at the time I was riding BMX very heavily. And so in terms of, I feel like the Pro Max can work if you you're into sports and stuff, but honestly I'd go for the smaller model if that's the case. But the battery for these phones are great, but I would go with the iPhone SE just because it's really small, didn't get in the way, it still had good video quality, and it was just a minimalistic phone. And I have a video on that if you guys are looking for a minimalistic phone comparison. It is the Generation 2 iPhone SE, but Apple is actually moving to a form factor like the iPhone 13. They're moving to this form factor in the 15 model, or excuse me, in the new SE model. They're actually going to give you this kind of hardware with the newer processor. So that might be something to consider when you're moving to that. And yeah, so but I did like how the original intent of the iPhone SE was to give you a nostalgic experience with a better processor. And that's what I got with the iPhone SE1. So who knows, I might put just $100 to get the iPhone SE1. That little device is pretty great. I did like, to be honest, the iPhone 5S. So I had a white iPhone 5S, and I've said this before, but the thing that Apple actually, you know what, I'm gonna be honest, Apple is doing us a little bit of solid. I think they're listening. Clearly didn't watch my video, but the fact I can see like the screen, the black, and I can see the metal on front. So I can actually see some colors. So I can see some purple, the phone I got. So bravo to Apple. I don't know if I can actually see this on here, so that might be a little bit of a difference too. She has a screen protector in a case. I'm not gonna remove that. It's pretty hard to see, but yeah, they have it. It's not as prominent on here. I think that they did a good job of displaying color up front, but I wish phones still had the bezel color as white. I've said this in another video before too, but I really enjoy that. I really enjoy seeing the color of the phone. That's the thing that the iPhone 5S, 6, I think up until the iPhone 8. Up until the iPhone 8, they pretty much had a white panel up front. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they had, the back and the front were cohesive. You had the same color back as the front. And that was something that they did well. When I got the gold iPhone, bro, that had the gold back with the white, the two little glass white strips up top, and then as you flip it over, is the white on front. That was a dialed ass experience. That looked awesome, dude. That was such a good design. And I'm not knocking them. I just would say if you're going to go for a phone, go for a black phone. Because to be honest, man, the purple looks cool. And you're going to see it a little bit. But if you want that, seamless kind of like look all around, go for that. If you are honestly just going to slap a case on it regardless. So one thing Apple does well, and I'm sure there's, I know Bellroy, this company makes really good leather cases. I've never had one by them. I don't even know if they make the Apple ones or not. But Apple leather cases, bro, these are so awesome. They don't do a very good job of protecting the phone, but they do feel nice. Like they feel very high quality. And so it doesn't when I have a leather case on my phone, I don't feel like the quality of the phone is compromised at all. I feel like when you slap a plastic case on, it's to protect the phone and things like that, and it looks cool, you're right, but I feel like the quality of the phone feels like plastic. Like for instance, this case makes the phone feel like how a Galaxy S3 felt when Apple loved to use plastic, or excuse me, Apple, when Samsung loved to use plastic for their phones, because I think honestly at the time it was just good for their budget because of they always had good TVs and things like that, but they were really stepping into the phone market. They've been in it for a while. The Samsung Galaxy S, that was a sick one, but yeah. So anyway, guys, Apple's done a good job of over years keeping a consistent, solid experience with really no issues. And I think it's because they don't take risks and they wait 10 years to implement and always on display. Speaking of that, this phone does have always on display, and this phone does not. But at the same time, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if it's software enabled or not, but I don't know. A 10-year-old Android phone having always on display and them not updating this and using it as a feature for the new one, I don't know if it's actually a necessity for display tech for it to be the case, but if it's not, and if it's strictly software, I think it's pretty lazy and gimmicky of Apple to just do it on their new one to get people to upgrade, to trick them into thinking it's a new feature. I swear to God, I'm so sorry if I said innovative in this video. I hate it when people say innovative. Bro, if you become an Apple fanboy and you don't say innovative, are you really even an Apple fanboy, bro? Like, no, you're not. Like, you have to, they say innovative after everything. This is not fucking innovative. Do you want to know what's innovative? Innovative is the Red Magic 8 Pro. That thing is, I've talked about this in another video. Bro, that phone, I'm getting it. I'll have a review up soon of it. But bro, oh man, I'm gonna be getting rid of this. Like I said, I'm giving it to my brother. So I won't be able to really do much more with this video. I might do like and I'm pretty much just using this phone as the main shooter for my videos, but it's also my wife's, and I'm not gonna hug her phone all day. So there is that. But yeah, basically, guys, Apple does a good job of getting a lot out of a little. So for instance, one way that Apple will shine is if you're going for a cheap tablet. Like the iPad 9, dude, this thing works well. Like honestly, it's cheap because of the hardware, and you could bend it in two if you tried, but bro, who's trying to snap their brand new phone in half? I don't know. I don't think anybody is, but they do a good job of getting a lot out of a little. So for instance, with this tablet, that's the same as like a Samsung tablet that I'm filming on. Yeah, the quality on both of them are ass, right? But this phone can actually run RuneScape. This phone actually has 6 gigs of hardware RAM versus actually I think there is $100 difference. And when currency translation happens, people internationally it's different for a lot of people in different countries, and so I can't say that the $100 difference is worth it or not. But from my experience, I've only been able to run phone applications like I could back in 2013 when 2 gigs was the standard of RAM. Being $100, I guess that's why. And these phones and phones like that being over 1,000 or close to 1,000, but also with the phone. I talked about my other one, but basically the phone, the Red Magic 8 Pro. Look it up; it's a beast of a phone. You're gonna hear software complaints, but that's because the phone is being innovative. Like Apple is not innovative. They're not changing anything because they made some fucking software bubble up here because they just shrunk this big forehead chin they had, and they could have done way more. Just to make it look like they're changing things. Apple knows that people are going to buy their products regardless. So what they do is they do things that are passable, and they look good, but they're not the newest things, so that they'll always be quote unquote on top. But what they're relying on is they're relying on little kids that fucking pick on each other about fucking iPhones and exclude each other. I think that shit is wild, bro. I don't know how school would have been for me if I had to deal with, I got picked on a little bit for sure. But I also had to get us time with my friends and things like that. But I do not know, because me being a nerd too, having to deal with people excluding me because of this and that, dude, fuck those people. Okay, you don't want to be friends with people. I dealt with being venting basically, but that's something to bring up too, bro. People look at this shit because they're doing it for a social status thing, and dude, that sucks. Honestly, I don't know if things have changed that much, but Dude, if you're sitting here watching this video because you want to be part of a group chat of people who have iMessage, like like fuck that, dude. Do not waste your time with people like that. That's a waste of time. Buy tech because you want to buy tech yourself. I would say a solid Android phone. If you're a big nerd like me and you're not like, I feel like it's so weird, bro. I'm sorry to bring this up, but I don't think any tech address reviewer has addressed this issue of people being ostracized because they don't have iPhones. Like that is a crazy concept. And honestly, people will say, I read comments like they're just jealous. They're just jealous because they can't afford an iPhone. Bro, Android phones are as expensive and you get more power for less. Like, that's the thing. Sure, the only thing the iPhone probably has is good external hardware, and there's probably a good reason why those people are focused on the hardware because they're shells. I'm sorry. Yeah, don't buy a fucking phone because people are picking on you. That's fucking bullshit. Buy what you want, and yeah. So I would say that this phone, minus the fucking island and apps opening a little quicker because it's not downclocked because of battery erosion. That's the thing too. Because of battery erosion and downclocking, it looks like this phone is always faster, but they're just downclocking it and putting the same processor out. But it's just so they literally, and honestly, there is performance increases. I'm not saying that there isn't, but the A15 to the A16, not really that notable. Versus something like the Snapdragon Generation 1 to the Generation 2, there's a big difference. And in my other review, I posted a video of the Snapdragon Gen 1 versus Gen 2. It wasn't me that did it, but this guy did it very in depth, and he is probably the best at that. But yeah, I know you want to see more gameplay on the phones and things like that. But honestly, guys, it's an iPhone. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Later.